Who want one last trip to the long trail?
So here we are staring at the long-awaited patch notes. This is the emergency patch, and there's a lot riding on this. We know there's many content creators who's talking about quitting, going to play Street Fighter, going to play Fatal Fury, going to play a lot of other things. A lot of players have already uninstalled. A lot of people have boycotted the game, review bombed the game. The developers has apologized. They acknowledge all of it, and they say they want to revamp the game, revamp Season 2, and this first patch will be the first one of many that will push the game into a new direction. What is that direction? We don't know, but this patch notes will give us a clue as to what it is. So without further ado, let's look at the patch notes. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, but here we go. So it says, impact of the update. Application of the update will be affected the following modes and features. So we know about this. We can skip that already. Ranked and quick match. Adjusted matchmaking specifications. Adjusted matchmake to make it easier to pair up with opponents whose highest ranked character is closer to your own. As a result of the adjustments, it may take more time to find an appropriate opponent. Tekken Ball. Fix the return behavior of certain moves that allow the ball to be kept in air. So this is Devil Gen, I believe they're talking about. Playable characters. Fix balance adjustments to characters' moves. Please refer to the following link for future direction of okay, let's just click this link and see where it takes us real quick. Okay, so this is what we looked at the other day where the developers apologized and whatnot. So they're just referencing that if you missed it. So when you look at the health gauge, you can see the specific change. The maximum health value has been increased from 180 to 200. According to the threshold for activation rage has been raised since the rage activation threshold is based on 23.5% of character's total health. The increased maximum health will change the rage trigger point from 43 to 47. Okay. And there may be more situations where it's harder to KO an opponent in rage. Since this could lead to more frequent comeback scenarios, the baseline activation threshold 23.5% is under review and may be adjusted in the future. So you can see that this band-aid of increasing health has more implications than we first thought about. We were talking about poking being affected, but I don't think anyone considered what this will do to the rage scenario, and the developers have considered that. And they say this change does not apply to the story, to the episodes, or Tekken Ball. Now the throw change. In previous updates, adjustments were made to ensure that throws would still offer some advantage to the attackers, even if throws was broken, based on the idea that throws are less effective against opponents who can react in tech after seeing the throw animation. However, considering that throw breaking is a high-level technique reflecting a player's practice and reaction speed, it was deemed excessive to impose a penalty on a defender for successfully breaking the throw. As previously announced, the following changes will be implemented. The mechanic where the defender receives 5 recoverable damage upon successfully breaking a throw has been removed. They listened. For heat gaugers, after a hit, when transitioning into a running motion, the opponent recoverable time has been reduced by 8 frames, changing the frame advantage from plus 17 to plus 9. That is huge, and that's what a lot of people talked about. A lot of people talked about how they hated that plus 17, and now it's plus 9. We will see if this is a big enough change and if everyone's celebrating. Heat dash changed pulse aerial combat damage scaling from 70% to 60%. Changed the recoverable damage inflicted when performing a heat dash after forcing an opponent to block a move from 7 to 2. Due to this change in the aerial combo scaling, a discrepancy has been identified between sample combos and actual combo damage. This will be addressed in future updates. Okay, chip damage. To reduce damage on block, the further adjustments have been made. The movements that do not normally deal chip damage to lessen the additional chip damage applied during heat. The chip damage scaling has been changed from 25% to 20%. As a result, chip damage from block heat smash has been lowered overall. Moves that deal chip damage by default, adjustments were made so that the additional chip damage is applied during heat for these moves. Some moves were exhibiting excessive variance of chip damage. Balance adjustments have been made accordingly. All this talk about chip damage, I wonder if the mechanic is just a bad idea. I know other fighting games do it. I know it works in other fighting games, but just considering how much time they're spending trying to make this thing work, you have to wonder if they're just spending that time, if they're wasting the time trying to balance something that just won't work. We'll see what this update does and how fair it is. You know, you have Anna, you have Heihachi, you have a lot of other characters who could plus frame you. We'll see if this is a solution. Key charge. In previous updates, adjustments were made to reduce the overwhelming impact of counter hit based offense. However, it was since determined that combining charged attacks with the elements like rage, stage gimmicks can lead to potentially match ending damage in a single hit. As such, further rebalancing has been implemented. When a charged attack hits an opponent, the damage scaling on the first hit has been changed from 150 to 110. So that's all of those Twitter combos that people were showcasing, and the developers have taken notice. Moves that induce wall stagger. This is the Nerf. In future updates, the development team is committed to minimizing situations that lead to one-sided exchanges. Bro, ever since the wall stacker was introduced in Tekken 7, I hated it. Being at the wall was always already such a chaotic situation. You're pressured. You have to fight back. You're most likely standing up in an oaky situation. So to have that wall stagger in there and have it be so frequent, I hate that, and they should remove it. And I'm a Yoshi main. Tech roll flash is my specialty, and if I'm dying at the wall, I can only imagine what a little Kazuya main is doing. It says among these moves that trigger a wall stacker on block were a particular concern. Such moves could easily create extreme advantage, plus 10 or more when near a wall, forcing defending players into a powerful mix-up situation without any opportunity to respond. To reduce these kind of one-sided scenarios, the team has reviewed all wall stacker on block moves across all characters. Any move that previously created an advantage of plus 10 or greater on block will no longer trigger a wall stagger when blocked. That's a pretty interesting one, the wall stagger change. And they talk about all the characters that they affected, but also this isn't just wall staggers. They have some real balancing stuff in here for like the character Anna. She's at the top of the list. Anna received both bug fixes and adjustments to certain moves, specifically for heat moves involving 3 consecutive shots from Lovely Tom. The return was deemed excessively near the wall, as opponents' behavior on block has been adjusted. Additionally, considering ongoing balanced direction of reducing chip damage in future updates, the amount of chip dealt during weakened state has also been reduced. So they're fixing a couple of things here. They're fixing it to where it no longer wall splats, but then they're also fixing it to where it won't track you anymore. She shoots her rocket and it comes out left and right. Now it should only go straight, like projectiles being fired out of a barrel normally do. Adjusted the opponent's behavior on final hit so it no longer triggers a wall splat. Oh, this is good. Adjusted, yeah, so all of these, no longer wall splat, no longer wall splat. That's crazy. In line with the overall adjustment policy, changed the move so that it no longer triggers a wall stun. So this is a lot of her heat being attacked here. And this may have a big impact on the character because Nina was diabolical. Now we'll have to see what they do in terms of tracking, what they do in terms of all the guessing, but how oppressive she was at the walls, this update is looking pretty good. Slap reversal. This is something that players were doing all throughout Twitter, and they fixed the issue. Where an action should have been exclusive to certain characters could be unintentionally performed by all characters, meaning that the male characters were able to do the slap when it was only supposed to be female characters. And then they fixed a bug where unintended moves could trigger specific commands. So this also is talking about how from the slap, people were able to do different moves, including rockets and get really crazy, right? So they fixed all of that. Now you look at the character Brian. Brian received a follow-up adjustments to new moves added in Season 2, Neo Grim Reaper. While Neo Grim Reaper offers a high reward on hit, it came out very low risk on blocked. Despite being a low attack, as a result, the move became extremely useful during Snake Eye activation or during heat overshadowing options, led to a noticeable reduction in gameplay variety and player individuality. Taking these points into account, we decided to implement a preemptive adjustments to Brian's performance as part of a broader balanced direction plan for future updates. So this move has went from -12 to -13. And I wish it would have been like -14, really. 14, 15, something like that. The consumption remains. Heat has been changed from negative -210 to -300. Okay. For Clive received behavior fixes with rebalancing of Season 2 movement staff adjustments. Staff adjustments had long reach, allowed Clive to maintain offensive pressure even when blocked, and yield high reward on counter hit. As a result, it diminished the utility of other moves and led to a reduction in gameplay diversity and individuality. Taking these points into consideration, we have decided to implement adjustment to Clive's performance in line with the broader balancing direction planned for future updates. Forward 1+2, they changed changed the damage on counter hit to 60 to 50. They also changed it from +4 to +5, and the chip damage from 6 to 2. Nice. Devil Jin only has one change. That's their wall stacker going into effect there. Eddie Gordo has his wall stacker being removed, and then they also adjusted the behavior when opponents are downed. They're fixing some issues there, but really it's nothing too much to mention there. Same thing with Fang and Heihachi. Also Harang. These are just minor changes. Some of it is a nerf because it is like, taking off his ability to apply so much pressure. But generally, this is just what they explained at the top, right? Now, Jack 8, the character everyone was 1-2 clapping with. Make Some Noise could be performed as a follow-up from Jack's close range core move 2-1. Allow him to easily create a highly advantageous situation simply by forcing the opponent to block. This made it difficult to counter, enabling Jack to apply strong offense pressure with minimal risk. Additionally, the move proved excessively powerful in terms of combo damage and chip damage, prompting a need of rebalancing. Preemptive adjustments have been made for Jack 8s to scale back performance of the move in line with broader balance policies planned for future updates. So the damage has been toned down from 30 to 20. The chip damage was from 12 to 4. Why was it ever that high? So they changed it from 8 frames to 5. Okay. When the attack has been reduced to mitigate unintended occurrences of hitting the opponent who's behind you. So I wonder what the +5 is going to do, because that's still pretty crazy, right? But will you be able to interrupt? Will you be able to jab? Will you be able to fight back? We'll see. And there also was an issue where the sequence could be inputted 5 frames earlier than intended. So with that being gone, you're going to have to wonder how this will impact the player's ability to spam it. Wow, that's crazy. And they also changed his Daring Heat. So Jin Kazama, as a result of adjustments, became a major contributor to the excessive combo damage. Additionally, the newly introduced, in Season 2, granted Jin exceptionally strong offense, continually near the wall, enabling him to force one-sided pressure on opponents without reprieve. Taking these points into consideration, the adjustments to Jin's performance has been implemented ahead of future updates in line with the overall balancing direction. So they're attacking his damage, they're attacking his ability to do that flying kick through the air, and they're basically just allowing Jin, the opponent to fight back, but also Jin to have to do other things. So I like that as well. For the character Jun Kazama, there's a lot here. Wow. Jun's stance has limited effectiveness in breaking standing block, making it situational and underutilized options. To address this, various elements were introduced. However, these changes unintentionally pushed the stance strength beyond intended levels, creating balancing issues. Key factors contributing to the stance excessive strength. So, startup low attack, nearly impossible to block on reaction, the mid attack, moderate tracking against sidestepping, the new move, highly powerful, enabling Jun to force offense on the opponent's little counterplay. Okay, due to these factors, Jun was able to repeatedly pressure opponents from effective counterplay. In light of overall balanced direction we've implemented. Okay, so they are attacking these moves as well. They're just trying to cut down on all the characters' ability to pressure you. And this is what they should have been doing at the start of Season 2. And I don't know how that balance update went through, where they made more characters more aggressive, and they choked out all hopes of defense. The only thing here for Kazuya is the wall stacker being removed. Now, Kiga's an interesting one, and I'm interested to see what they say. Stampede Crash has proven to be highly versatile in regular matchup play with a third hit. Okay, so this is talking about his new move where he could just force you on block and he could just bully you, right? This move was so crazy, even when they demonstrated this and it was a force on block and he goes into that running stance. So that's what they're attacking here, is they're trying to cut down on that and basically allow people to fight back. It was so crazy, bro. Why did they even do that? The second hit no longer connects as a natural combo. Nice. The third hit has been reduced, making it harder to connect against opponents in a down state. Wow, that's good. Reduce the tracking on the third hit. Now, Kuma and Panda, I won't read those, but you guys can pause and look at the details. I do know that these characters are very powerful, so sooner rather than later, we will have to put a magnifying glass on those characters. I know Atif is playing Kuma and maybe some other people, but for now, let's skip it. Lars is also a big boy as well, and his dynamic entry is taking some hits from 19 damage to 17 damage, and then also his silent entry, 23 damage to 19 damage. Fix an issue where the heat timer was not recovered when transitioning into DE and SE. Okay. Change the opponent's behavior on hit and adjusted the frame advantage from 24 to 4. Wow, when you look at the frames like that, plus 26 to plus 4, you think, how did it ever get to that point? So you have this law change here where it's just the wall stagger taking effect, and then this other move is they fixed an issue where the heat dash could not be triggered on whiff under certain conditions. So they're not attacking the major problems that players have with that character. And the same thing with Lee. Oh, these are separate characters, Law and Lee. So they're separate characters, and a lot of their issues that players have will probably have to be taken care of in future updates. Leo, she has some stuff here. Same thing with Lydia and Lily. These are just wall stagger changes for the most part. Then you have the character Paul Phoenix, which his first move is the wall stagger. Then they have some small changes made to Reina. This is her in heat 3-4-4, and then her down 2 1+2, right? So they're just fixing the damage scaling on that move, and then also they're fixing how the move would react in certain situations near the wall, right, with mid animation. These are a lot of the things that we'll have to try to figure out in the actual game itself. A lot of this stuff we can't just look at the patch notes and truly understand. But the fact that they are removing, like even for Yoshimitsu and Zhao Yu, right? The fact that they're removing the wall stagger off a lot of these attacks, that will allow people to really fight back. And that would allow people to really have to think about how they want to keep pressure and keep people in a corner. Because in past Tekkens, when you want to keep people in the wall, you have to really work for that. And with the wall stagger being so consuming, you didn't have to, right? It was just like a free tool, especially on characters who didn't use it that often. Yoshimitsu King Chop 4-2, that bad boy would sneak up on you and it would kill you. It would open up so many possibilities, right? So this update, it looks pretty good. In my opinion, the biggest thing here is them removing the wall stagger. I'm definitely going to be interested to see how that pans out. But as for everything else, we're going to have to see, you know, this is one step towards revamping the whole game, as Rada said on Twitter, and it's now just a matter of time it's a matter of how much time will the players be willing to wait in order for the game to fix itself, right?